In 27 years since the fall of apartheid, yet the economic crimes continue to haunt this nation. And the regime's alleged aiders and abettors are allowed to continue their operations. Well, 2 months ago, Open Secrets submitted a docket to the NPA demanding that it investigate and prosecute 2 banks linked to apartheid crimes. But the social justice organization says that it's still awaiting a response. The group has accused 2 European banks of laundering money for the apartheid state. Open Secrets claims that this allowed the regime to secretly buy weapons for domestic repression. But for more on this, we're joined by Henny van Vuren. He's the director of Open Secrets. Henny, it's great to speak to you again. I hope you're well. Open Secrets has named Belgium's Credit Bank and its sister bank in Luxembourg in its findings on alleged economic crimes.
Morning, Annika. Yes, indeed. We, following a number of years of investigations, uncovered the link to these 2 very important European banks, mid-sized banks, but who we believe have been delivering this kind of bespoke service to regimes like the apartheid regime in the past. And the evidence showed that the banks were not only complicit in receiving cash, but they helped to set up a global money laundering network, effectively a criminal network which enabled the apartheid state to move an amount of up to 500 billion rand out of the country in order to buy weapons during the sanctions period from the late 70s to the early 1990s. And of course, the banks became incredibly rich by being complicit in a crime against humanity. And it's this evidence that we brought to the attention of the National Prosecuting Authority now, Annika, in fact, a year ago. So in September of 2020, we handed over a detailed docket of evidence to the National Prosecuting Authority. And frankly, we've only seen inaction from the side of the NPA in the 13 months that they've been sitting on top of this information.
I mean, that unit has been operating for years now, and you say they've actually just given you no response at all to your reaching out and asking for some sort of international cooperation.
Yeah, so we have had some response from the NPA, Annika. We've had some correspondence indicating that the NPA and the Hawks are applying their mind to it. And just this past, well, we've had a series of correspondence this year, but just this past week, we made public correspondence that we sent to both Advocate Batoy, the head of the NPA, and as the National Director of Public Prosecutions, and General Labia, the head of the Hawks. And that follows a series of letters to them, starting as far back as February this year, when we learned that 2 of the senior people that would be involved in investigating this matter have themselves been implicated in covering up the crimes of apartheid and are complicit in the crimes of state capture. Those 2 people are a Brigadier Nyameka Xaba from the Hawks, on the one hand, who was tasked with investigating this matter, and copied in this correspondence is an Advocate Turi Pretorius, who is well known from within the NPA. Now, both these individuals, we should stress that those are allegations made against them before the Zondo Commission and through other judicial processes, have been linked to state capture, particularly in furthering the idea of the rogue unit network and destabilizing SARS on the side of Brigadier Xaba. He is said to have illegally interrogated SARS members and calling them to the SAP's headquarters, and in fact held one of the SARS officers, a man by the name of Flock Symington, against his will at the SARS, the offices of SARS. Pretorius equally has been implicated in court papers in effectively ensuring and enabling a process that allowed the idea, that this narrative again of the rogue units to be able to multiply, and his name has been mentioned in a number of court papers. Equally, both men have fudged very important cases that were to investigate of human rights violations during apartheid. On the side of Brigadier Xaba, he was responsible, we understand, for investigating the murder of activist Nokuthula Simelane. Again, it was senior investigators have pointed out to how this case was terribly handled, and we can only get the sense that there must have been either some kind of an agenda involved or an absolute dereliction of duty on his side. And, equally, Annika, my last point on the side of Advocate Pretorius, we saw similar in the case of Ahmed Timol and a number of important prosecutions that the NPA was supposed to deal with. The Craddock 4, the PEPCO 3, these were all matters that Pretorius and his unit were to be investigating for years, but they allowed the politicians to interfere in the process. So in sum, what we've brought to the attention of these authorities since February this year, Annika, is that we have an incredibly important case of international money laundering. There's an opportunity potentially for you to repatriate cash and bring it back to South Africa and find against these banks. But you've placed in charge of these investigations individuals who are contaminated by covering up crimes of apartheid and the crimes of state capture. This case at this stage is destined to fail if you continue to put these people in charge. And to these issues, we have not yet received any answer, a substantive answer from either Shamila Batoy or General Lebeya.
All right, thank you so much. And those are the views of Henny van Vuuren. We would need to reach out and get some sort of right of reply to Brigadier Kaba and Tori Pistorius, who's head of that unit. Thanks very much, Henny van Vuuren from Open Secrets.